If you've only ever seen yourself as someone who creates and sells art, but never as someone who collects or invests in art yourself, you might be overlooking one of the most overlooked yet powerful ways to grow, not just in your confidence, but also your understanding of the art market and your connection to the wider creative community. Because the moment you step into the shoes of a collector, something changes. You stop seeing the art market as something very distant, intimidating, and start experiencing it from the inside. You begin to understand why people buy art and how they make decisions and what it feels like to value someone else's work enough to invest in it. So in today's video, I'm going to speak about how becoming a collector, even in small ways, can shift your perspective on selling your own work. It can help strengthen the relationships that you build with your peers and also how it can support the art industry as a whole. And I'll share why investing in other artists often leads to more confidence, more clarity, and more opportunities in your art career. For more videos and all things related to art business, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to get notified every time I release a new video. And if you're new here, hello, I'm Martha, and I spent over a decade working in the contemporary art world, beginning my career in some of London's top commercial galleries and eventually becoming a gallery director. Today I work with artists to build sustainable and fulfilling careers doing what they love, and I run a program called the Artist Accelerator, and inside the program I've helped artists transform what's possible for them, selling works at prices they never thought were possible for them, securing top magazine features, creating reliable income streams that give them more freedom in the studio and in their lives. So if you're looking for practical, proven ways to build reliable income streams without compromising your creativity, your values, or your time in the studio, you can click in the description below to learn more and apply to work with me. So let's get into today's video. So one of the most overlooked benefits of buying art is the first-hand insight that it gives you into the buyer experience. So when you experience being a collector yourself, even just this one time, you get to see things from your audience's perspective. You feel what it's like to move from simply admiring a piece to actually making the decision to purchase it. And that process, however smooth, clunky, confusing, or joyful, becomes a mirror for your own art business. You start to notice the small things. Was the process intuitive or frustrating? Did the artist respond quickly and professionally? Were you sent an invoice or a clear payment link? Was the communication warm, informative, or reassuring, or was it vague and sort of disjointed? Even details that you might have never considered before suddenly become really noticeable. So how was the work packaged? Did it feel personal and premium, or was it a little bit thrown together at the last minute? Were you sent a certificate of authenticity? Was there a follow-up email or thank you note? All of these experiences leave an impression, and they're exactly the kind of touch points your own buyers will be moving through too. When you've lived that process, you become far more aware of what builds trust and confidence and what chips away at it. You'll know firsthand what creates a seamless, enjoyable buying experience and what creates hesitation or doubt. The truth is, many artists never take the time to experience this. They focus solely on the selling side and miss the opportunity to learn from the people who they're actually trying to sell to. But when you've been through it as a buyer, you start making better, more informed decisions as a seller. And it also helps you to strip away all the unnecessary drama we sometimes attach to the sales process. You know, we can overthink everything, wondering whether Stripe or PayPal is better, how quickly we should send a follow-up email, or whether it's awkward to send a confirmation email even. But once you've experienced what it feels like to be on the other side, you simply realise that it's often much simpler and clearer than you could have ever imagined. Investing in other artists' works helps you to cultivate a genuine community instead of competition. When you choose to buy art from another artist, what you're actually doing is you're making a purchase, and you're saying to that artist, I value what you're creating, I believe in your work enough to invest in it. And that kind of gesture creates a connection that goes far beyond the transaction. It opens up a door to mutual respect, admiration, and encouragement as well. And these are the very things that form the foundation of a supportive creative network. Far too often, Artists fall in the trap of scarcity thinking. It's easy to look around and see someone else's success and see how that sort of somehow diminishes your own chances. That is, if another artist is selling, showing, or being celebrated, it must mean there's less room left for you. But in reality, the opposite is actually true. The more that we lift each other up, the more we cultivate an art world that is active and exciting and full of opportunity. Every artist that succeeds signals to the world that art is worth buying, and that helps all of us. A brilliant example of this in action was the Artist Support Pledge, initiated by Matthew Burrows, that emerged during the height of the COVID pandemic. Artists offered affordable works, usually under the £220 mark, and once they reached £1,100 in sales, they pledged to buy a piece from another artist. The simplicity of it was genius. It was rooted in generosity and mutual support, and it created a ripple effect of giving and receiving that reminded everyone when artists support artists, everyone benefits. This is what buying art from other artists can do. It's not a charity or obligation. It's a powerful act of community building. It shows that you really care about the sustainability of the art world, not just for yourself, but for the people around you as well. And it makes you visible as someone who gives back, who's invested in more than just your own progress, and who understands the value of relationships in the art world. And these kinds of relationships often evolve. When you support other artists, they notice. And over time, those gestures can really open up doors to collaborative projects, group exhibitions, and referrals even. You may find yourself getting invited to artist talks, events, opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise been asked to. Not because you asked, but because you showed up with generosity and integrity. In a world that can often feel very competitive, disconnected, and even lonely as an artist, buying art becomes a radical act of connection. Investing in the work of other artists can also inspire you in your own practice. Immersing yourself in an environment filled with art sparks new ideas, fuels creativity, and reminds you why you started making work in the first place. Studies have shown that being in the presence of art can directly boost productivity and creativity. One study from Exeter University found that employees who worked in spaces with art were 17% more productive, and when they were given control over how the space was arranged, their productivity increased by up to 32%. While those numbers come from an office setting, the core principle applies just as much within your studio as wherever you choose to make work. But beyond statistics, there's a lived experience of inspiration. When you're around other people's work, especially pieces that move you or challenge you in some way, you start to see your own practice with fresh eyes. You begin noticing how other artists handle colour, build texture, compose imagery, or even how they frame their work or package a print. These observations can be quietly influential. They can spark a new idea or gently nudge you in a direction that you hadn't previously considered. There's also something quite grounding about paying attention to what you respond to as a viewer, what pulls you in and what stays with you, what makes a piece feel unforgettable. And that kind of awareness is invaluable because it teaches you what creates emotional connection. And when you bring that level of intentionality into your own artwork, your work becomes more resonant and more relatable to the people who encounter it. And let's be honest, most of you didn't become artists solely because you loved your own work. You became an artist because you love art, full stop. You love to visit exhibitions, you love to talk about art. It nourishes your soul like nothing else. So whether it's a small painting by a friend or handmade ceramic piece on your desk or a print that makes you stop and smile every time that you walk past it, other artists' work can become daily inspiration. Supporting other artists also builds reciprocity, which means when you show up for others, it has a way of coming back around to you in some way. Often the act of buying someone else's work is the beginning of something more. It might lead to a genuine friendship, a studio visit, a shared opportunity, or a future collaboration. It might lead them even to referring collectors your way or inviting you into a group exhibition or a creative project. And while none of these things are guaranteed and certainly shouldn't be expected as a condition for your generosity, they become far more possible when you're seen as someone who gives with no agenda. People remember who showed up for them in the early days, the ones who bought a piece when sales were show, who offered encouragement, or who went beyond a quick Instagram like or comment to make a lasting gesture of support. Those are the relationships that carry weight because they're built on trust or mutual respect. Inside the Artist Accelerator, we've seen artists who've purchased a work from someone that they admire and later found themselves being invited to collaborate in projects and in shows, or referred to collectors even, simply because of that initial act of generosity that has created a genuine connection. People want to work with those who understand the realities of being an artist, who value creative work, and who are willing to invest in it both emotionally and financially. When your peers see you that way, your network doesn't just grow wider, it grows stronger, richer, and more aligned with the kind of creative career that you actually want to build. So yes, buying art from other artists is an investment, but it's also an investment in your own future, your community, and the art world that you want to help shape. Finally, it helps support the art industry as a whole. When you decide to buy a piece of art from another artist, you're doing far more than just simply choosing something beautiful for your home or studio. You're making an intentional contribution to the creative economy. You're circulating money within the system that relies upon trust, visibility, and support between artists and collectors alike. You're directly supporting the livelihood of another artist, someone who, just like you, is putting their time, talent, and heart into building something meaningful. And the impact doesn't stop there. Every time that someone chooses to buy art, it builds demand, and that demand has a ripple effect. It drives opportunities for exhibitions, increases eligibility for funding and grants, encourages media attention, and builds momentum for more commissions, sales, and growth, not just for that one artist, but for the whole industry. Your purchase doesn't happen in isolation. It sends a signal to the market that art matters and is worth investing in, and that artists should be taken seriously economically. If we want to live in a world where art is respected and collected and viewed as an essential part of culture, then we have to be part of shaping that world ourselves. So by buying art, what you're actually doing is you're reinforcing the value of creative work, and that benefits every artist, including you. And beyond the financial or structural benefits, there's a psychological shift that happens as well. So when you see your peers succeeding, when you actively participate in that success, it makes the idea of building a sustainable career as an artist feel real and within reach. It dissolves the old belief that artists are destined to struggle and replaces it with a far more empowering mindset of this is possible for me too. So there are so many benefits to investing in art by other artists. It helps you to understand the buyer's journey, it helps you to foster long-term relationships, and in turn you are contributing towards the art market and keeping the demand of art high. Do you own work by other artists? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you've never bought a piece of art before, I'd really love to encourage you to start small. Maybe you could buy a print or a small drawing, a postcard even. It doesn't have to be expensive, it just has to be intentional. And if this video resonated with you and you're looking for a supportive space to build and grow a sustainable art business surrounded by other serious professional artists, I'd love to invite you to check out the Artist Accelerator program. You can click the link in the description below to apply. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, let me know by liking it, commenting down below, and subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video.